This is my port of Canyon Bomber for the BBC Micro. Originally I wasn't even planning on writing this game, but a good friend of the BBC community, Arcadian from the Stardot forums, asked me to write it. I thought he was asking because it was a particular favourite, but it turns out he was just looking at early games that could be ported to the BBC Micro. Like many early arcade games, it uses a 6502 processor, and the display is 32 characters by 30 high. The airships that turn into aeroplanes later are sprites, as are the bombs that get dropped, so just 4 sprites to support, plus scanning those 1,000 characters every frame to see if any of them are changed and updating the bitmap screen on the BBC Micro. I think I only played Canyon Bomber once back in the day, which is why it wasn't on my list of games to port to the BBC Micro, but it's actually grown on me while I've been developing it over the last few days, so I'm actually quite glad that I did port it. The original arcade game is in 4 colours: black, white, grey and grey again. When I ported it to the BBC Micro, I do like to try and put some colour into the game, so I hope nobody will mind that I've added some more colours. It changes the palette halfway down the screen so that in the top we get the blue background instead of grey, the cyan and magenta instead of the black and white, and we also get white text. Then in the bottom half we get the green, I guess, walls of the canyon, the yellow targets, and the bombs turn into red so we can have red explosions. If you've got a video NuLA for your BBC Micro, I've actually added a video NuLA mode that runs in the original grey, black and white, although obviously you can disable the NuLA to use the colours if you prefer. The thumbnail that I've used for the video is actually a screenshot from the video NuLA version. This is another old game where I think the main alignment of the sprites is slightly off. If you'll notice, I've made sure that you can see exactly where the bomb is when it's being carried by the aeroplane or the air balloon, since it doesn't actually matter where the airship is or the aeroplane, but it is very important to be able to see exactly where the bomb is to precisely target your shots. As I said, when I started porting this game, I hadn't really played it probably more than once or twice back in the day, and didn't really get the game mechanics, but the idea is each pass across the screen you have to blow up at least one target or you lose a life. Here they're called misses. So it's quite a good idea to try and shoot the ones off the end when you're flying low and preferably slow, and then just go for the bigger piles of targets the rest of the time. I still haven't managed to actually clear the screen to find out what happens then. Maybe I'll look for a video. You can play this 1 or 2 players, and the first game there I was playing both players with 1 button in each hand. This time I'll just play single player, and you can see how much the AI player, well, helps or hinders. Helps, I guess, if there's some benefit to clearing the screen, but hinders because it's kind of limiting the time that you have to play, which I guess is exactly what you'd expect from an arcade game. I'm the cyan player, nominally on the left, or black as it says on screen, so I guess that's something I could change if I ever do an updated version. An unusual feature of this game is there's an extra button on the cabinet that lets you reset the high scores. I've added the option to do that. I guess you could use that feature if there's a small group of you and you want to see who gets the best score. One of the tricks I use to port these games is I'll run the game in MAME, hit F8 to run to the next vsync interrupt, and look where the code is. Usually you'll find it sat in a loop waiting for the vsync to start and then waiting for it to stop so that it can time the game and make sure it updates things at the right time so you don't see them changing on screen and tearing. What I do for the BBC version is when it gets to that bit of code where it's going to start waiting, I'll return. I'll do my code, wait for the vsync, and then jump in just after it would have finished waiting for the VSync for it to have a turn. If any of you are wondering how I capture these videos, they're done on my original BBC from the 1980s, along with a Pi RGB to HDMI converter. You can find that on the Stardot forums, and an Elgato HD60 video capture device for the PC, and the audio through a PlayStation Eye, only using the microphone. I use Audacity to balance the volume of the different samples before adding them to a project in the one-shot video editor. I know this all sounds a bit cumbersome, and it is, to be honest. I just checked what happens, and as you might expect for a 1977 arcade game, it just refills the canyon with targets and continues. Could be worse, I guess. It could have just ended the game.